Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. And as promised, here is part 2 of my conversation with author Jennifer Carr. Grab that coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get on with the show. Hello, fearless listeners. Are you ready for another episode of Let Fear Bounce? It's the podcast that's all about conquering challenges and facing our fears. I'm your host, Kim Langling, and each week we'll dive into inspiring stories, expert insights, and practical tips to help you turn your fear into your greatest ally. So sit back, relax, grab that cup of coffee, and let's discover how to make fear our bouncing board towards a life filled with endless possibilities right here on Let Fear Bounce. Have you asked yourself who's going to take care of your pet should something happen to you? Well, I've got an answer for you. The Do-It-Yourself Pet Estate Will Kit that gives you peace of mind that your family pet will be cared for when you are no longer physically able to care for them, with easy step-by-step instructions that guide you through the task of completing forms necessary to add your furry loved one to your existing will. Visit KimLanglingAuthor.com to find out more. So are you able to, we're jumping around to different topics.
I love it.
That's how my brain works.
Let's do it.
Your works in progress. Are you able to talk about any of those right now, or you prefer to keep those on the back burner?
Well, I love talking about stories in general, and the way sometimes you'll just look at me and be like, so that's how your brain works. And I'll be like, well, sometimes, yes. So the first 2 books that are out currently, they are Christian fiction novels. And then my 3rd book is also a novel, and it is it's a romance novel, but it's a clean, sweet romance. And it's still fiction, obviously, but it's not Christian fiction. And I don't know why I went this way. I just love the story that popped into my head and I wrote it. Also, I like to write books that I'd want to read, and that, books that I look for and I can't find them. And therefore it's like, oh, here's a story to go with that. So
right.
The 3rd book that will come out in February, hopefully I'm getting all of my feedback from beta readers this month. And so then I'll make all of my edits, and then come February, it's a second chance romance, childhood best friends. There's a lot of, I love 90s country music, and there's a lot of 90s country music influence in the book, and small town, that kind of thing. Small town goes big, like they become big in their own rights. And so it's just really a story of growth and friendship, and just learning to be yourself and love yourself before you can love somebody else. And so yeah, that's that one. But then on my website, you also see that there's a whole different one called Deep State Magic, and it's like an urban fantasy that mixes reality and fantasy and in an urban setting. And so you just never know what you're going to get from me.
I was going to say, now, do you write them all under your name, or do you have pen names?
So currently the first 3 are under my name. The urban fantasy right now, it has my name on it, but I have a pen name. I just haven't decided whether or not I'm going to use it, because that becomes really complicated. Having to market 2 different names, and having, I realize they're going to be 2 different audiences, right? Because not everybody's that
right.
wants to read a Christian fiction is going to want to read an urban fantasy. I get that. But geez Louise, I can't imagine trying to keep up with marketing 2 different names and 2 different genres. So I'm not sure how that's going to work yet.
I've thought about, because I'm known for the nonfiction. Mm-hmm. And when I do fiction, I've thought about a pen name. I've even come up with one. But then I too was sitting there thinking, I know how much, and my background is sales and marketing, 25 plus years of it. So I know how hard it is. And I can market and sell anybody's stuff and widgets.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your own stuff, and when it's you personally, it's your name is your brand, that's a whole nother ball game. And I'm thinking, so then maybe I would do really well marketing my pen name self, because it's not technically me. I might be better at it.
And it's so crazy
It is
too,
a lot of
because
work. It's a lot of work.
yes, it is a lot of work. And that is one thing going into the whole I want to write a book thing. I had no idea. I had zero idea what it was going to be like to have to market afterward and trying to get stuff out there. That's not my background, obviously. And so I've had to learn as I go. And so I cannot imagine tacking on one more being like, hey, come find me. But I will say, when I go and search an author's name, I'm like, oh, I thought they wrote fiction, and then nonfiction pops up. That would get confusing. So I could kind of see how having two separate names would be beneficial.
Well, I know several authors that they have certain books under their main name and others under a pen name. And when you interview them, I'm never sure what to call them.
Yes.
Because I'm like, well, what do you want to go by your pen name, or, am I allowed to say that you are the author of this? So it makes it interesting, but there you leaving that little sense of intrigue in there would also, I think, be one of the little hooks that you're throwing out to the readers.
Yeah.
You're never going to see a picture of this author.
Right. And that was the other thing I was going to say. Like, there was one girl, woman, she wrote a book that I really enjoyed. And then I saw her picture on the back of another book, and I thought, this is very different, but that is not her name. I was very confused. And maybe I'm just simple like that. I don't know. I was like, I don't know who, did she actually write this? Is she the same person? It didn't occur to me. It could have been a pen name. I mean, obviously it was, but I don't know. So yes, right now they're all me. And if that changes, I don't know if I'll tell anybody.
I was going to say, if it changes, you're not going to tell anybody.
You might not know. See?
Make note of the title of her books in progress if she has.
That's right.
So you can make sure, refer back and say, oh, okay, there she is.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, I don't want to manage 2 websites. I want to manage 2 TikTok accounts. I don't want to manage 2 of everything. So
that is a lot. And that's another thing people don't realize, that when you're writing a book, it's actually a business.
Yeah.
You're not just writing a book. You have to make sure you've got, you need money to make sure, if you want things done right, to edit, format, design, cover design. Unless you're good at doing stuff like that on your own, it's time consuming.
Yes.
Then getting the word out there, trying to get the word out there. There are a lot of things you have to pay for to do that. Do you or do you not need a publicist? That's another expense. Some people do, some people don't have one. People don't realize you're doing everything. You're a one-man show or one-woman show.
That's it. That's it. And that was, again, like, that was such a learning curve for me. And it's the one thing that, when people are like, well, what do you want to share? What kind of advice do you have? I want to write a book. And I'm going, well, just understand that there's more to it than putting words on a page. Is that the most important part? Yes. But also, if you want somebody to find your stuff, you have to make it available to them. And how do you do that? And there's a whole bunch of ways that you can make that happen, but it does require time, effort, money, energy, all of those things.
Yes. And it is more than a full-time job.
It is. And then you want, your secondary streams of income, because writing books to start out is not going to make you a bunch of money. And
and there are, I don't think people realize just the small percentage of people that make it on the New York Times bestsellers list, or the USA Today bestsellers. I don't even think the USA Today has a bestsellers list anymore. I think they got rid of it. But for years and years they had one. That doesn't just happen.
Right. And there's so many politics involved. And so, like, you're literally marketing yourself and not just your work. And so then there's a whole nother, you have to create a persona and a brand. And oh my gosh, it's exhausting.
There's a lot. There's a lot. And here's another thing I thought was hard, and I want to see if you think the same.
Okay.
I think one of the hardest things about writing your book is writing the back book cover description.
Yes.
It's maybe 2 to 3, what is it? Less than 300, 400 words. I sit there and think, I just wrote a book. Why can't I write these 3 paragraphs? I mean,
it's so
I want to know if anybody else struggles with that besides myself.
1000% yes. Like, it is so bad. That is actually one of the things that after I wrote my first book, I was like, all right, now we have to do the back cover, which I thought, no problem, I'll summarize it. And I thought, how do you summarize 300 something pages
Right.
into, half a page kind of thing? And so I went to Chat GPT and I was like, write me a summary based on, I've got these characters and they do this and this happens and I need a summary. And it sent me something back and I was like, oh, that is not what I wanted. I can do better, but it was a process. And then also my editor was very gracious in helping me come up with a blurb as well. She was like, all right, let's think about it this way. And I was like, can I just pay you extra to do it for me? She's
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do it
It's
either.
hard. It's hard.
It is.
And you do need someone from outside your bubble
Yes.
to give you, even if it's just one or two sentences, and then you can go,
Yes.
oh, duh, why didn't I
Yes.
think of to put it that way?
Yes.
Because you're
And
so in the bubble, you can't see, you don't have an unbiased view of it anymore.
Yes. And you want to include every detail because you're like, this is a very important detail. When
Right.
the fact of the matter is, when they read the book, they'll get the detail.
Right. And the back is just, that's the hook.
Yes. And so it has to be like the best part of it that
Right.
pulls people in. When I was querying agents, I went self-published because after the querying process, it was just a miserable experience. And I thought,
Been there, done that. Yeah.
this. Yeah, it's terrible. But they want an elevator pitch and they're like, give it to us in 3 sentences. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Do you know how long it took me to come up with the back of the book? And you want 3 sentences.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever attended any writers conferences?
I have not. I've had several. I started looking at them this year, and there were a couple that I had my eye on, but it's really hard for us to up and leave and go out of town with animals, because then you have to pay somebody to come sit with the animals and all that jazz. And so if they would do them online, I would probably attend more of them. But right now, going is kind of hard.
Before pre-pandemic, there's one, I live near Pittsburgh. So there was one there that they held yearly. I don't think they hold it anymore, but they did hold it yearly. And so I went for 3 years and then the pandemic hit. But I learned so much, and it was just a 1-day thing, a 1-day conference. So I drove down and I drove back the same day. I learned so much. And they also had agents there from numerous publishing houses. So if you were going traditional, but they also had agents there that you could just go in and you had 10 minutes, no more. There was a timer set, 10 minutes. And it wasn't necessarily a pitch. You just told them about your book idea and they gave you feedback on whether it was a viable idea or not. You paid $29 extra to have that. And each time I went, how many agents are they having there? So how many times can I get feedback?
Yeah.
Because I learned so much. And, the one time that the one person said, this is not even in my realm of expertise, but I think it sounds fascinating. And I know a lot of people who would be really interested. And then one of them said, I am kind of in this realm, but the way you just described it to me, anybody could write it. And I went, okay, do you have any tips that you can give me on how to better prepare myself then with the words I use? And he goes, I know you're passionate about it. And I know that you've got something awesome in there, but the way you presented it to me, you really do have to work. And I was like, oh, please tell me how. So I was excited to get the constructive feedback. And that's why I asked if you'd attended any, and I think anybody out there listening who is thinking of writing a book, or even if you have been writing a book, attend conferences online or in person if you can. And if you have to pay a little extra to get that personal feedback from someone, do it, because you need it. Thicken up your skin, because none of us are perfect writers. I don't care what you say you wrote the perfect book. Everybody has a perfect book in them.
That's right.
But who can write a perfect book? We all think our books are awesome, but we're not writing our books for ourselves.
That's right.
We're writing our books for readers. So accept constructive criticism, thicken up your skin. Don't take it personal, kids, because it's only going to help you grow.
Yes. Well, and that is so true. I literally got my first feedback. So I didn't use beta readers on my first book, and I wish I had, only because I think it could have been even better. I think it's a good book. I think it's a great book. I love the story. I'm too close to it to be objective otherwise, but I love the story. And I've gotten really great feedback from people who weren't my parents or my husband saying it was a good book. So I know that it was a good book. The second book, I used beta readers, and their feedback came in, and a couple of them I was like, oh, that's not the feedback I was looking for, but I had a couple that were fantastic. And literally the second half of the book changed completely because of the feedback. And it is the best book it could possibly be. And then this current book that comes out next year, I got my first feedback form, and I was like, ooh, that was harsh. Like it wasn't constructive in my opinion. It was not helpful in a lot of ways. But then the second one came in, and she said similar things in a different way. But it was so constructive. And I know that because of that feedback that I was willing to receive, and I'm still anticipating more forms to come in this month, but like, receiving that feedback is going to make me a better writer. It's going to make my book the best it can be. It could be the difference between a 3-star and a 5-star review.
Yes.
You have to be willing to accept the feedback and hear it. Now, not all feedback is going to be useful. Like I said, some of it comes in and you're like, I wasn't asking you to rate me,
Right.
or my writing ability. I was the story and the words on the page, but being open to feedback and seeking feedback, like that's hard.
Yes.
Because you feel like I should know what I'm doing. I'm setting out to write a book. Obviously, I know what I'm doing. Well, you know what?
No,
You're
you
not
don't.
writing it for you. Like you said, you're writing it for readers, and they know what they want, and they know what they want from you. And so reaching out and saying, hey, give me feedback. One, it's humbling. It's very humbling, which I think is huge when it comes to this business, like being an author, staying humble, because if you get too big for your britches, just like in anything, like you're going to stop focusing on the story, and you're going to start focusing on me and the attention that I'm getting, kind of thing. But being willing to also say, I need help, will definitely make your work stand out and be the best that it possibly can be.
Yeah. Another thing I've done to get constructive feedback is I submit short stories to contests.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes they will have the edition thing, for an extra $10, we will have this such and such editor critique your story. And I've done that several times. And each time they're like, this is an absolutely beautiful story. You had us laughing, you had us crying, but
yeah,
we don't know enough about this here. And why did you start here? We need more backs. And I've kept all of those. I printed everything out, and I, everything with the red marks and the red letters and everything on there. I've printed them out, and I keep them in a folder, and I refer back to that all the time, and I'm thinking I'll pay the $10-12 to have that critiqued, or $25, whatever it is to have. To me, it's so worth it because it has helped me immeasurably to do that. And some of it, you're just like, you kind of go, ooh, that hurt. That would hurt a little bit. But then it's like, okay, Kim, pull yourself back.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, pull yourself back, and then read it again. And then I read it again and go, I see what they were saying. Yeah. Why in the world did I even think to write it that way? Of course I should have written it a different way.
Yeah. And you see the progress, from the first time you wrote it to the third time you wrote it, you see the progress that you've made, and you're like, oh, I am so glad I asked for that feedback.
And it's exciting because then you feel like, it's like, oh my gosh, look at me go. I'm on a roll now. Or as you're writing, you'll be writing something. And I always go back and read. When I'm done, I go back. I don't do a full edit, but I go back and read my stuff. And I'll be like, oh, why did I know better than to write something to write a sentence that way. So I'm like, oh, what they told me those several years ago, it's stuck in my head now. Yay.
Exactly. I think
I'm a big girl now.
Yes. And rising up in the ranks is very different for an author, because, you have to start at nothing, and then you start at like 5-star reviews, and then that's because they're all people close to you and related to you. And then it goes down to maybe a 4-star and then a 3-star. But it's through all of that feedback that you're like, my next book, I promise you, I'm going to set out no more 3 stars. It's all going to be 4 and 5 stars. Now, you can't guarantee that, because some people are just, you can't please them, and the book is not for them, and they shouldn't have picked it up in the first place.
Right.
But
right. Yeah. And that's the other thing.
Your
Your book is not for everybody.
That's right.
So don't ever use an query letter. My book, everyone will love. No, they won't.
No, they won't.
I don't know how many people I've talked to that said, I'll be like, oh, well, what is your audience for your book? Well, anybody could read the book. Yes, anyone could read your book, but who's going to like it?
Yes.
Who
Yes,
actually is
exactly.
going to want to spend money to buy your book?
And the time to read it. Who
And the
wants to
time to
invest that
read it.
time? Yes, because to me, it doesn't matter how much a book costs. It's a matter of, did I just waste my time? And
Right.
I will get, I will give a book one chapter before I put it back on the shelf. If I'm not going to finish it, I will give it a full chapter, because my time matters more to me than my $1.99 or whatever I spent on the
Yes.
book,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And the other thing you had mentioned earlier, friends and family, don't count on them for honest, unbiased feedback. And I know that you're super excited and they're all excited and they're going to go buy your book no matter what, but they're not going to, for risk of hurting your feelings, they're not going to give you truly what you need to hear.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind too.
They are very good for an ego boost. They are so good at boosting that ego. You can do it. Good job. But also, like you said, like their 5 stars is definitely biased.
Yes. Yes. And do you appreciate it though? Absolutely. And that's something I struggle with. I don't know about you, but I struggle with actually asking for those reviews. I don't have near as many reviews as I should have on my books because I don't ask enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
That's
just
hard
feels,
because
it is hard. Personally, it makes me cringe going, will you please tell me how good you think I am?
and I try,
That's
I
how
do
it
like
feels,
that. It does feel that way. It feels a little cringy, but at the same time, I have put out there a few times that, like, just on my Facebook page, I'm like, this is how authors earn money. It's by people telling other people to go read this book. I mean, think about how many books you've read that you've told somebody about because you were excited about it. That makes an author's day because you've shared it with somebody else. You have no idea that we're sitting here going, oh, I need another review so people will see it, because that's also how an algorithm on Amazon and that kind of thing plays. It'll boost you up based on your stars and your reviews. I do love that, when I'm an ebook reader. I don't have space for paperbacks, but I can work my way through an ebook so fast compared to a paperback book. And so at the end of it, when it finishes, it automatically pops up. It's like, how many stars would you rate this book? And it's an automatic, I can do that. You can't do that with the paperback book. And so people don't always go and leave the review afterwards. And so
you have to ask them.
You have to ask. Well, and I don't always know who buys it. If they're not buying it straight from my website and they go to Amazon or something, I'm like, I don't know how to tell you to leave a review. So I just hope for the best.
You know what I've done? I've put a page in the book asking for a review.
That's a good idea. Yeah. You could even put a QR code and they just go to their phone and be like,
oh, yeah, I haven't. Well, there's a good idea because I have not thought of the QR code, but I've seen that in a couple authors that I read, that I follow, and I read all of their books. And I've noticed in the last year, like in that back matter, those last few pages, it says, if you've loved this book, I'd appreciate you going on to Amazon and leaving a review, because that's how an author keeps the things rolling. And I was like, that's a really good idea. So I put that in my last 2 books. Now, if it's working or not, I don't know, but it's at least there.
Yeah. I'm kind of guilty. If it's not a bonus epilogue, that's as far as I go in the back matter. I don't read the acknowledgments. I write them in my books, just in case somebody really cares, but I don't read acknowledgments. I don't read past, if there's not a link to a bonus epilogue or other books by the author, like I don't typically look at the other stuff.
Oh, really? See, I do. Yeah. I will swipe left till the very last thing, until it comes up and says next book in series.
Oh, interesting. Well, and I don't know what the Amazon thing is, because a lot of times if you get to the bonus epilogue page, then the star rating comes up and I click the star rating and I move on to the next thing and I don't even think about it. But now I'm going to have to put a page
something I like to do, because I know, well, you also learn stuff that way.
That's true.
That's how I learned about putting that page in there.
That's true. And now you've told me, and now guess what's going in my next book.
See, there you go. And if you've got an ebook, you can easily add it.
Oh yeah, golly, I don't know.
Even your paperbacks, you can just easily add it and re-upload the interior.
They've made that so easy. Yeah.
It really, truly, it's amazing. It's amazing how technology has helped authors,
good and bad,
and the self-publishing thing, being able to do it on your own.
Yes, you don't have to rely on somebody else to deal with the files and format. Like I do all my own formatting because the software I use formats it for me. And I mean, it is beautiful and easy and perfect. And
Oh, awesome. See,
yeah,
I have someone format for me.
yeah, I couldn't afford it. I was like, I could, I'm paying out the wazoo for a good editor. So everything else is kind of on me.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
yeah,
editors they are needed. You absolutely
desperately
have to have
needed.
an editor, so you absolutely have to budget that in.
Yes, that
But
is the
you
one
can
thing
find
that,
some awesome people for formatting and stuff like that, those types of things on Fiverr.
yes, there are plenty of people out there, just make sure that they have reviews and that somebody else will
You have
vouch
to
for
do
them
your
because there
research
are,
on them.
yes, always do your due diligence.
Yes. I've found an awesome formatter. And I
There
did
you
a
go.
lot of research on this individual, and he's formatted numerous items for me. Awesome, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I got very fortunate, I believe, very fortunate
Yeah.
to find this particular individual. So I'm thinking, and I've said I'm going to use you as long as I can, as long as you're still doing this gig. you know,
Please stay in business.
please stay in business, right?
Yeah.
Now, would I use the folks on that platform for everything? No, but for formatting, for me, it was well worth it, and it's within my budget to do it that way.
Yeah.
Because that's just one thing I don't want to learn how to do.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's not my thing. I don't want to learn how to do it.
I totally get that. And it's what like and no matter what, I did not have the software and I used Ingram Spark has their own like book but kind of a book formatting program or whatever. And it was so convoluted and so complicated that I did not love it. And it looks fine in the printed version, but it's it's not as pretty as when I got a hold of. I use Vellum. I'm a Mac user, and so
Oh,
Vellum only
okay.
works with Mac, which is that's unfortunate for them because I think they could help a lot of people if they would move into the PC world. But Vellum makes it so easy. It's like point and click, and it's pretty. And so I even took No Matter What down, and I reformatted it through Vellum and re-uploaded it because it was just so much nicer
I've
that
heard
way. And
that,
that's
but I'm a
yeah,
PC person, so
right.
I don't have access to it. But I've talked to a lot of people that do, and they use it, and they absolutely love it.
I do. It's so easy. And like I said, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because it's not been out. I don't think it's been available that long. I mean, all things considered. And so I'm hopeful that they will move into the PC world. I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I
I
know it
don't either
between
because
a
I'm not
Mac,
a
but I
tech
don't
person.
know. Yeah, me neither. I guess I could go ask Rob,
Because
but
they ask Rob.
that's all I got.
Yeah.
Ask Rob.
Well, as we get ready to wrap this up, I know we've
Yeah.
been going long, folks, but this is a fun conversation, and hopefully we've been tossing a whole lot of little nuggets out there
Yeah,
for you
we
as
have.
writers. If you're writers or authors or anything out there thinking about writing out there, there's been quite a few little nuggets and little tips and hacks out there. So hope you were taking notes on that. But as we get ready to wrap up, I ask all of my guests to please toss out a nugget of hope to the listeners out there. So it's something that they can tuck away and carry with them for the rest of the day. And that can be on any topic, just a little nugget of hope.
Oh, no pressure. Um, One of the things that I always come back to is um, writing has always been a part of me, a part of who I am, and it's always been something that I've been good at, but I never took time to foster the art of doing so. I think that I missed out on a lot of opportunities because of it. So my encouragement would be that if there is something that you love to do, if there is something you are passionate about, if there is something that other people have even spoken into your life and been like, man, you should really do something with that, whatever that may be. um, Take that to heart and consider the fact that you were given that gift for a reason, and you should use it. Don't just let it go to the wayside because there are so many opportunities, so many blessings even that you might be missing out on because you're not living up to your fullest potential and reaching out for those goals um, that you might really want to pursue, but you're too scared to do it. So, there's a
Let
reason
fear
you are given.
bounce.
That's right. Like there you go. Like I wasn't even trying to go there, but that's so true that, sometimes you're like, I can't be good enough. But here's the thing. You have that gift for a reason, so use it.
Right, right. Don't, life is so short, folks. It
Yeah.
truly is. And I know life is busy. You might be a young mama And you're working full time. Then you come home, you got to take care of 2 kids. You've got homework and laundry and dishes and dinner and all that. And you're just so darn tired and you lose sight of who you are. Gosh, who am I now? I don't even remember who I was, but there's still that little spark of something in there that you've always wanted to do. Carve out 10, 15 minutes a day. Carve it out. You can do that. Get up 10, 15 minutes earlier. Yeah, I know you're tired. Heck, I've been there too. Heck, I'm tired now.
Yes.
But it's like you said, Jennifer, you were given that gift for a reason. Don't smother it and shove it so far down you forget it's there. And then you look back decades later and say, I wish I woulda.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not saying drastically change your whole life, but put a little time into that passion of yours.
Absolutely.
Put a little time. You like singing, you like songwriting, you want to write something. Maybe you want to make pottery. I don't know what it is, whatever it is. Maybe you want to, make little people out of acorns and paint them. I don't know. And the reason that popped up is because there is this phenomenal artist online that makes these little people out of, then the acorns are the faces and the hats. Mm-hmm. And he has them all dressed up as like fairies and wood sprites and warriors. And he puts them in all these different scenarios in the woods. It's so creative and so beautiful. Now, what if he wouldn't have let that passion come forth?
Yes.
So let that passion come out, even if it's just for a few minutes a day, folks. And don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough.
Yes. Especially yourself. Don't let yourself tell you that you're not good enough.
Right there. Yes. Right there. So when you look in the mirror, don't sit there and say, ugh, look at you. Look in the mirror and say, wow, look at me. Even if you have to say it several times to convince yourself, because you, my friend, are a masterpiece. You might not think so, but there is one who does. Da-da-da. And the angels sang.
So good.
Yay. Jennifer, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being my guest. This has been fun, so much fun, and so many neat little nuggets and little tips and tricks that we just tossed out at each other. How fun is that?
So good. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Like, I hope this keeps happening. I hope we just keep running into each other and like, hey, let's have a conversation, and we'll go, 40 minutes over the time limit every time.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I am always up for another great conversation. I always have a cup of coffee in hand. We can make that happen.
Let's do it.
We can make that happen. Awesome sauce. All right. Thank you once again for being my guest, Jennifer. And everybody out there listening, thanks so much for hanging in there with us today and listening into another episode of Let Fear Bounce. This is your host, Kim Langling. Everybody be well, stay well, and be blessed. And that is a wrap, my fearless friends. Thanks for bouncing along with me on another episode of Let Fear Bounce. I hope you're feeling a bit motivated and ready to take on any challenge that might come your way in the coming days. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode of Let Fear Bounce. Tune in each week for your dose of inspiration from my amazing guests from all over the world. So until next time, keep bouncing forward and stay fearless, my friends. Everybody be well, stay well, and above all, be blessed.